Either done.
Thank you. Then we will call the regular meeting of County Council to order on Tuesday, May 25th, 2021 at 4:30 p.m. May we ask everybody to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the
the
flag
flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Vice Chairwoman Clear, you're going to lead us in words of inspiration today. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much. When I was looking for our words of inspiration, I read this and it immediately made me think of all of you, all of council, and all of the other people that help us on a daily basis. This is actually from Queen Elizabeth II. It's a Christmas message she gave in 2016, which I know sounds odd. But here it is. It's understandable that we sometimes think the world's problems are so big that we can do little to help. On our own, we cannot end wars or wipe out injustice, but the cumulative impact of thousands of small acts of goodness can be bigger than we imagine. And that made me think of all of you, because alone we can only do so much, but together we can do even more. So.
Very nice.
Thank you, Vice Chairwoman Clear. Mr. Smith, may we have a roll call vote, please?
Mrs. Clear,
Here.
Mr. Horton,
Here.
Mr. Rastatter,
Here.
Mrs. Rennie,
Here.
Mrs. Showerman,
Here.
Mr. Shank,
Here.
Chairman Anderson.
Here. Next on our agenda is hearing of the public. As we mentioned earlier, if you called in time to be on the agenda for today, you will receive 5 minutes. If you did not call in time to make it to the agenda, we will still make sure that you have an opportunity to speak, and you would receive 3 minutes. We do have 2 members of the public that did call in time to receive the 5 minutes. And so first I would call Terry Twilley. Terry Twilley, if you're on, we would give you 5 minutes now. And once more, Terry Twilley. We'll move on, but we will recognize Terry Twilley if they are on while we're still doing citizens to be heard. Next on our agenda to receive 5 minutes is Russell Taylor. Mr. Taylor, are you on the call?
Yes, I am.
Okay, please go ahead. I will, when you give us your full name and municipality, I will begin your time and you'll have a full 5 minutes. Please go ahead. You're welcome.
Thank you. I'm Russ Taylor. I live at 1015 Chelsea Avenue in Mill Creek, and I also own a property in Erie City on Euclid Avenue. I would like to open a public dialogue regarding the proposed International Recycling Group's post-use plastic sorting facility. So far, there has been sparse reported investigation of the details of the environmental impact on the population, infrastructure, and natural resources of Erie and the surrounding communities. The site for the plant, the SB3 Industrial Park, is situated in the center of a rebounding residential community with the Boys and Girls Club, Edison School, the Barber National Institute Senior Center, and the John Horan Apartments as nearby neighbors. The safety of the children and elderly who live and work and play there should be a primary consideration. The drastic increase in truck traffic, noise, and air pollution is very concerning for our most vulnerable populations. The already deteriorating roads and infrastructure in this East Side neighborhood will suffer significant damage from the 24/7, 365 truck traffic. The ever-present risk of toxic fires at plastic sorting facilities would also hang over the entire Erie community in the foreseeable future. Scientific studies have shown that Lake Erie fish, wildlife, and humans consume microplastics from Lake Erie waters already. The microplastic pollution will certainly get worse with fallout from plastic flakes the plant will produce. The contamination of our region is by disposing of the unwanted plastics from a 750-mile radius, which takes in all the largest population centers in the Northeast and Midwest, would wreak havoc on our tourist industry. Along with the dire environmental concerns, there has been little evidence from IRG and its proponents that the experimental project would benefit the Erie area financially. The $100 million plant would yield 50 jobs. Since the facility would be almost completely automated, those jobs would probably offer mediocre wages with little opportunity for advancement. That $100 million is primarily a tax shelter for wealthy investors with the opportunity zone status. IRG expects to be granted, and with local tax exemptions also likely to be offered, the financial benefits to the Erie community are minimal. I hope that every member of County Council, as well as other representatives and legislators, will investigate and make transparent to their constituents a thorough cost-benefit analysis for the International Recycling Group's planned post-use plastics sorting facility. Just recently, the plastics recycling firm called Carbon Light, with a facility in Pennsylvania, filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy due to uncertainties in the market for recycled plastic pellets. For comparison, as one truly green industry alternative, the Calypso medical marijuana growing facility adjacent to the proposed IRG site already employs more than 50 people with minimal environmental impact and a much more promising future. I own a house on Euclid Avenue, only a few blocks from the proposed IRG facility. I'm very concerned about its impact on property values as well as the quality of life of residents along the East Lake Road corridor. I'm asking for County Council to plan open public meetings with representatives from IRG, state and local government, environmental groups, the news media, and local investors, Erie Insurance and Plastic. I think we need to know why Erie Insurance and Plastic think this is a good investment opportunity for our region. I think we as taxpayers, stakeholders and concerned citizens deserve to know how collecting plastic trash from all over the northeastern United States benefits us. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Taylor, for your time and your comments. Those are the two members that had called in and received 5 minutes. If there's other members of the public that wish to be heard, please raise your hand or let me know, and I will make sure that everybody has an opportunity to be heard. First, I see Izzy Laurie has her hand up. Miss Laurie, if you are ready, we will begin your time after you give your name and address, please. And you have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Izzy Laurie. I live at 226 Mellon Avenue in Girard. I'm a member of Our Air, Our Water, Our Rights, a local environmental group. Also, I'm a member of the Sierra Club and the Audubon Society. I care about the city, the folks who live here, and the bigger picture as well, especially in this time of climate crisis. I wish to express my concern about the proposed plastic sorting plant to be constructed by IRG on East 6th Street. I am concerned about the proposed quantity of plastic waste coming into our city, bringing in 275,000 tons of plastic waste from places up to 750 miles away. It doesn't make sense to me. When our waste is collected by Waste Management, it goes out of the city, and here's the business proposing that we bring waste into our city. It doesn't make sense. A 750-mile radius would include New York City and down as far as Atlanta. It brings visions to me of all the plastic waste we sent to China and other Asian countries to be recycled. And then the pictures we saw on the TV with, those people picking through plastic. Now that China's not taking that anymore, it's coming to Erie, and it doesn't seem like a very good idea for our city. I'm also concerned about the increased truck traffic coming in off the Bayfront. It'll be going along East 6th Street, going through a residential neighborhood, an environmental justice neighborhood. There's schools and the Boys and Girls Club. IRG are estimating 50 tractor trailers a day, 50 semi-trailers a day. And this will increase, obviously, the noise and the air pollution to those residents, as well as cause more road deterioration on East 6th Street. More traffic makes more safety concerns for the people, the children and the adults on foot and on bicycle. And it's well known that environmental justice communities have been historically exposed to more industry and more pollution. And maybe this is a time where we need to improve the community rather than adding a polluting business. Also, the bigger picture, as well as the trucks coming into our city, the bigger picture of trucks coming from 750 miles, this is the big picture in our country, and it will create a huge carbon footprint. In this time of climate crisis, we need to be stewards of our land and working to improve our world and reducing our carbon footprint, not increasing it. I'm concerned, as Mr. Russell just said, that having this much plastic waste in one location would constitute a fire hazard. A huge plastic fire would obviously be detrimental to our community. Fires at plastic plants around the world are not uncommon. In fact, they're quite frequent.
Miss Lori, your time has expired.
Okay, thank you for listening to me, and thank you for the work you do.
Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
I saw a couple other hands up. First, I will recognize Mr. James Sam Miller. Go ahead, sir. We'll recognize you. And you too
Thank you
will
very
have,
much.
you'll have three minutes once you give us your name and municipality, please.
I think I only need 1 minute to make my 2 points. My address is 233 Bear Drive, Erie, Pennsylvania, 16505. And there are two main reasons that I believe this IRG project to recycle plastic waste will never happen. The first reason is the strong environmental groups in Canada will surely object to the burning of the plastic waste in Canada with the steel and contaminating their air. The second one is they also will object to having ships or barges bringing the chipped plastic waste across Lake Erie due to the risk of the ships or barges capsizing and sinking and leaving during a storm and leaving the plastic chips. Those have not been looked at or studied. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller, for your comments today and for being with us. I know there was at least one other hand up, Miss Ann McCarthy. I saw you had your hand up. Are you ready to go next? Okay, if you give us your full name and address and municipality, and I'll begin your time then. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. My current address is 6101 East Lake Road in Harbor Creek, and my ministry office is in the city of Erie. I'm speaking for Benedictines for Peace because we have a focus on climate and addressing the climate emergency. The solution to climate crisis is global, but the solutions are also incredibly local. So for the shift that we all desire for the future that has to happen in the next decade, we need to consider before every decision, especially locally, will this action increase or decrease our carbon footprint? Does this action increase or decrease our reliance on fossil fuel? Does this action perpetuate overconsumption, or is it regenerative? Does this action build up or harm the human community, especially the most vulnerable? So these questions are especially important when we're considering new infrastructure and experimental new processes. Therefore, Benedictines for Peace has grave concerns and questions about IRG's plans for the massive plastic shredding and processing plant in Erie, which will receive unrecyclable plastic from a huge area and shred it into flaked plastic, and much of it to be burned in steel production in our watershed 40 miles away across Lake Erie. The concerns have been raised here and also at City Council and in a document of questions shared with local officials. But just to highlight a few of them, burning plastic, which is a fossil fuel, in our watershed will contaminate our entire watershed, both the air and the water and the soil. It is an environmental justice area, and there has not been an environmental impact study done. The local media have done some helpful coverage and given us more information on the project, but this has not yet allayed our concerns. I want to note, for example, in a recent in-depth Erie Times news story by Matthew Rink that was very helpful. It was published April 8th, 2021. Mr. Hecht mentioned this, and I quote, "Once we get a mechanical recycler who says they want number 4 low-density polyethylene, we will have 5,000 tons of it," he continued. "Once somebody says they want polystar because they can turn that back into polystyrene product, we will have 10,000 tons of it because we will have been collecting it. And then that material will no longer be going to the blast furnace of a steel mill because we now have somebody who is willing to pay us a lot more for that material to turn it back into a recycled product," end quote. And he was referring, of course, to hopes that some process for recycling the currently unrecyclable plastic would be developed. But it also makes clear the plan to store huge tonnage of plastic material on Erie's east side in an environmental justice area with not a plan other than burning it in a steel mill in Canada to take care of it. So our question,
Ms. McCarthy, I'm
Yes.
sorry, your time has expired for today.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That was it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Are there any other members of the public? It looks like Juan Lanera, is that correct?
It's close. My name is, thank you. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. My name is Juan Llarena.
Llarena, okay, thank you.
Yes, and I live at 920 Beaumont Avenue in Mill Creek. And I want to commend my environmental friends because I think they are making a lot of sense with this International Recycling Group. Rather than repeat, I want to tell you a little story about myself. I'm a Cuban immigrant, first generation. My parents brought me to Miami, Florida, and this country welcomed us. And I'm very grateful. I studied hard and I joined the Navy, and I ended up graduating from the US Naval Academy and traveled the world and was exposed to the many cultures and languages around the world, and how we are really one human family, and how interdependent nature is. And our greatest asset, okay, so in Miami, I forgot to tell you, so I retired, right? And here I moved from Miami to Erie, PA. So why, that's the reverse. For most people say, well, why'd you do that? I did that because my wife and I figured, where is it best to live in climate change? And so the Great Lakes come up quite a bit for that, fresh water. So really your biggest asset here is the Great Lakes. It's Lake Erie and all of its tributaries. So bringing all this plastic in is going to threaten that. And if you take care of this great asset, our greatest asset, you are not going to threaten a $1.2 billion annual tourist economy, $40 million yearly fishing industry. So not only is this plan not going to help us financially, it's going to set us back. I would say there's a lot of red flags with the many promises that are being made. The last article I saw was in last Sunday's paper. It talked about an app from Dubai where people are going to bring plastic bags to them and they are going to be rewarded a token that after you accumulate a certain amount, I imagine you can buy some electronic device or something like that. To add to the fire, a fire in these sorting plants happens very easily. People put lithium-ion batteries in recycling bins. All it takes is one of those to get caught in the sorting system. If it breaks, if it's faulty, that immediately causes a fire. It could even be in a greeting card that has those little lithium-ion batteries in them. That could cause a fire as well.
Mr. Lorena,
Yes,
your 3 minutes has expired.
thank you.
Thank you for being with us today. Are there any other members of the public that wish to be heard? Mr. Leopold, please go ahead.
Yes, hi. My name's Art Leopold, 5341 Apple Grove Lane, Erie, PA. Hope you are all doing well. Gentle councilwomen and gentle council persons. There's been a lot said about the proposed IRG plant. I talked previous council meeting about some concerns. I just wanted to reiterate my asks for council to consider. Number one, to host a public meeting or a series of public meetings with the neighbors, with the community regarding this. Have everyone in attendance, IRG, environmentalists, etc. Number two, to have neighborhood residents or stakeholders sit on an advisory board with IRG in the planning of the plant to make sure that the concerns are expressed and voiced directly to IRG. And number three, that there be some way to hold accountable the organization if, God forbid, something were to happen, a spill in the lake, a fire, or if they should need to idle or shut down at some point, to make sure that the local community doesn't take on the burden of what would be a disaster. So those are the three asks that are pretty common. Accountability is good. And I suggest that perhaps as we proceed or as IRG proceeds, maybe they show the community that they can be a good business neighbor and be held accountable and offer benefits to the community. Thank you so much this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Leopold, for your comments. Are there any other members of the community that wish to be heard? I don't see any other hands raised. If I haven't recognized you, you could go to the chat. But let me ask one more time if Terry Twilley has joined us to give them an opportunity since they called in and were on the agenda. Terry Twilley. Okay, any other citizens that wish to be heard? Any other citizens that wish to be heard? And finally, tonight, any other citizens that wish to be heard? We want to thank everybody for their comments this evening at the council meeting. And again, so you are aware, 5 minutes for members of the public that call in time to get on the published agenda, and 3 minutes to those that come to the meeting or do not call in time to get to the published agenda. We're glad we had an opportunity to get to all members of the public tonight. And with that, let's move forward. And I will look for a motion to accept the minutes from the May 4th, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Councilman Shank, seconded by Councilman Horton. Are there any comments or questions on the minutes from members of council? Seeing none, Mr. Smith, may we have a roll call vote, please?
On the approval of minutes, Mrs. Clear,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
You were on mute, Councilman Horton.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Rastetter,
Yes.
Mrs. Rennie,
Yes.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Mr. Shank,
Yes.
Chairman Anderson.
Yes. Thank you. Next on our agenda are reports of county officials. And Mr. Sparbard, are there any reports from the county executive or any of her designees this evening? You're on mute, Mr. Sparbard.
Not this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you for that. Next is a report from the Finance Committee. Finance Chairwoman Clear, if you could give your report, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met last Thursday, May 20th, 2021, sorry. And today, the Finance Committee is going to be submitting to the agenda in old business A through F and new business items A through C and F through P. That is all. That concludes my my report. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chairwoman. Next is a report from the Personnel Committee. Personnel Chairwoman Mary Rennie, if you would, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Personnel Committee met on Thursday, May 20th. From that meeting, I'm submitting for tonight's agenda new business items D and E. And that concludes my report for this evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And thank you for that, Chairwoman Rennie. In caucus, there were no council members who had indicated that they had reports tonight. But I will ask once again if there are any council members that wish to offer a report.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep, Mr. Rastetter.
I'd like to just comment on this plastics issue.
Is that in the form of a report?
If I may.
Thank you.
I want to thank the public for coming forward and protesting this terrible use of the shoreline. I've been speaking out against the usage of the shoreline as it has been going for many years, and wish that it would go to a more cleaner use and more public usage. This problem with the plastics recycling is kind of a not in my backyard type of problem, but it seems to have to be done somewhere. And everybody knows the Chinese are sick of getting all our plastic that turns out to be nothing but trouble. So really what the people should be doing is using their power to use less plastic. Reuse and reduce are more important than recycle. Reuse the plastic and reduce what you use. I don't see any other way out of it. We actually should ban the use of most plastic and find a better use for our shoreline. Again, thank the public and thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all.
Whoops. Thank you, Councilman Rastetter, for your comments. Mr. Horton, do you have a report that you'd like to offer?
So I do. Chairman.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, my report is more in the form of a comment. We had some extensive conversation over the last couple of weeks about an item that's appearing on our agenda this evening, and that would be resolution number 19, or item F under new business. And so rather than go through the whole motion thing or table thing or pull it off the agenda thing, I just thought I'd make my comments here for the record, and I want it noted for the record.
Mr. Horton, could I just interrupt you?
Yeah.
The item you're referring to, I believe, is item A of old business, not the audit.
No.
Is that correct?
No.
The professional service contract under old business?
No, we did the poll on that. But I think this item here under item number 19, resolution number 19, I think there was an action or discussion about not acting on this tonight as well.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, I'm not mistaken, am I?
No, that's correct. Yeah.
Right. All right. And so I've resolved the item A under of what you refer. But again, resolution number 19 of 2021, item F, the financial statements and independent auditors report for the County of Erie and related funds for calendar year ending December 31st, 2020. And I just wanted to go on the record stating that I think that we should move on this. And I don't see any reason, and we should move on it without delay. The work has been done. The work has been completed. I don't see anyone else going to come in behind it and do another audit. I'm not sure what questions will be answered or asked that would preclude this from going forward. But I respect the wishes of my colleagues. But I do want to duly note it that I think it's an exercise in futility, and that I think that this thing should move forward, and if not today, as soon as possible, so that we can get it behind us. We certainly have an ambitious schedule ahead of us of things to do above and beyond the ARP money. The county has a lot of things to look forward to, and I think this is just one that we could have done without. We could have acted on and got it behind us. And I want to thank you for giving me an opportunity to make those comments.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Horton. Are there any other comments or reports from members of council? Okay, seeing none, let's move forward to old business. And old business item A is resolution number 10, which is an item on the table. Do we have a motion to for this to come off of the table? Seeing none, then the item will remain on the table until council makes further action. Next is ordinance number 26, which is also an item that has been placed on the table by council. Is there a motion by any member of council to take this item off of the table tonight? Seeing none, ordinance number 26 will remain on the table. There is a companion ordinance number 27 with this item, and that has also been placed on the table. Are there any motions for this to be removed from the table tonight? Seeing none, this item will remain on the table and we'll move forward. So the public knows these are items that council wanted to make sure the transparency to the public was there, and they're tabled items that we have on our agenda. There are members of council that have not resolved the issue of whether they are voting for or against, and so they've remained on the table until further discussion from members of council or clarity has been brought forward on the issues that remain. So we'll move forward on our agenda and ask for a second reading of ordinance number 20, possible motion to reintroduce a defeated resolution, which was resolution number 16. There is a member of council that did vote in the majority on this item, which failed, that was willing to make a motion to reintroduce this. And do I have that motion now?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to reintroduce resolution number 16 for the offices of District Magistrate Judge Christopher McKendrick in Springfield. After investigating this further, this is the best route to go, and there aren't any other options. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a motion for reconsideration.
Second.
The motion made by Councilwoman Showerman, seconded by Councilwoman Clear. And this would take two motions for passage. This motion would bring it up to council for reconsideration. Are there any other questions or comments from members of council? Mr. Smith, may we have a roll call vote on the motion for reconsideration?
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Rastetter,
Yes.
Mrs. Rennie,
Yes.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Mr. Shank,
Yes.
Mrs. Clear,
Yes.
Chairman Anderson.
Yes, thank you. Now that the item has been brought back to the agenda for reconsideration, it is now on the agenda for a vote. So I would be looking for a motion to approve resolution number 16 as reintroduced.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Showerman, seconded by Councilwoman Clear. Are there any comments or questions from members of council? Councilwoman Clear, Vice Chairwoman Clear.
I just wanted to, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to thank all of the parties for gathering the information so that we could better understand this piece of property and what was involved in that, including Chuck, I know, Councilwoman Showerman, she did homework as well. We had a lot of people a part of this so that we can make a better educated decision. So I just wanted to publicly thank them for that.
Thank you, Vice Chairwoman Clear. Any other comments from members of council? I too was going to make similar comments, so I will just say ditto to that, but specifically thanking Councilwoman Showerman for the due diligence that she has shown on this particular item, and this District Justice Office being in her council district. I know how concerned and important the item was to her, so thank you for that. And if there are no other comments or questions, Mr. Smith, may we have a roll call vote, please?
On resolution number 16, Mr. Rastetter,
No.
Mrs. Rennie,
Yes.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Mr. Shank,
Yes.
Mrs. Clear,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Chairman Anderson.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is a second reading of ordinance number 35. Mr. Smith, if we could have that in title only, please.
Second reading of ordinance number 35, 2021. First 2021 capital projects fund budget, supplemental appropriation of $445,000 and creation of new line items for public safety parking lot replacement and expansion.
So moved.
Second.
We have the motion moved by Councilwoman Showerman, seconded by Councilman Shank. Any comments or questions from members of council? Seeing none, Mr. Smith, may we have a roll call vote, please?
On ordinance number 35, Mrs. Rennie,
Yes.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Mr. Shank,
Yes.
Mrs. Clear,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Rastetter,
No.
Chairman Anderson.
Yes. We next on our agenda have a second reading of ordinance number 36. Mr. Smith, if you could read that in title only.
Second reading of ordinance number 36, 2021, second 2021 capital projects fund budget, supplemental appropriation of $120,000 and new line items for Blasco Library fire alarm system replacement.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
We have the motion moved by Councilman Horton, seconded by Councilwoman Rennie. Are there any comments or questions from members of council? Seeing none, Mr. Smith, may we have a roll call vote, please?
On ordinance number 36, Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Mr. Shank,
Yes.
Mrs. Clear,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Rastetter,
Yes.
Mrs. Rennie,
Yes.
Chairman Anderson.
Yes. Thank you. Next on our agenda are items for consideration under new business.
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chairwoman Clear.
thank you very much. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to move A and B to a second reading, as well as group together items G through N into one vote. And then also O and P considered in one vote. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have a motion to amend the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Vice Chairwoman Clear and seconded by Councilman Horton. Are there any questions or comments in amending the agenda for tonight? Seeing none, Mr. Smith, may we have a roll call vote, please?
On the motion, Mr. Shank,
Yes.
Mrs. Clear,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Rastetter,
Mr. Rastetter, you're on mute.
Okay. Yes.
Mrs. Rennie,
Yes.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Chairman Anderson.
Yes. Councilman Rastetter, you also show up being on the Zoom twice. So there's two of you.
Well,
out
yeah, that's a complicated problem.
I can only get one vote still.
Yeah, that's right. We're still only going to recode one vote.
You missed it while you were out on break.
Okay. All right. Moving forward, we have a second reading of ordinance number 42. Mr. Smith, if you could read that in title only.
41, Mr. Chairman, is that where we're starting?
Or no, we just, oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me. We just did that was the motion to amend the agenda. I'm sorry.
Yes,
So
sir.
now can we have a second reading of ordinance number 41 in title only? Sorry, but I skipped ahead one. Thank you.
The second reading of ordinance number 41, 2021, 14th, 2021 general fund budget, supplemental appropriation of $10,000 and creation of tuition reimbursement line item in the county prison budget.
So moved.
Second.
We have the motion made by Councilman Shank, seconded by Councilman Horton. Are there any comments or questions from members of council? Councilwoman Showerman.
Yes, I just wanted to ask Tracy, as a follow-up to our conversation last Thursday about this being in the contract, but we hadn't had it set aside in a separate silo. Are there other contracts that have the same provision in them, or is it just this one?
There are other contracts who have provisions in there for education, but they are budgeted. The prison has it specifically 10,000 should be budgeted each year.
So there's no other ones we should know about that aren't in their own silo?
No. The other ones that have it is like adult and juvenile, and they budget for it every year.
Thank you, Tracy.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Showerman, are there any other questions or comments you had?
No.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other members of council with questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, Mr. Smith, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Ordinance 41, Mrs. Clear,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Rastetter,
Yes.
Mrs. Rennie,
Yes.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Mr. Shank,
Yes.
Chairman Anderson.
Yes. Mr. Smith, may we have a reading in title only of ordinance number 42, please?
Second reading of ordinance number 42, 2021, 15th, 2021 general fund budget, supplemental appropriation of $6,000 from increase to public defender data processing costs.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Horton, seconded by Vice Chairwoman Clear. Are there any comments or questions on ordinance number 42? Seeing none, Mr. Smith, may we have a roll call vote, please?
On ordinance 42, Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Rastetter,
Yes.
Mrs. Rennie,
Yes.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Mr. Shank,
Yes.
Mrs. Clear,
Yes.
Chairman Anderson.
Yes. Mr. Smith, may we have a first reading of ordinance number 43 in title only, please?
A first reading of ordinance number 43, 2021, 16th, 2021 general fund budget, supplemental appropriation of $300,776 and a new line item for demolition of former PRM East building.
So moved.
Oh, we kept that at a first.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, that's okay. Next is a first reading of ordinance number 44 in title only, please, Mr. Smith.
First reading of ordinance number 44, 2021, 2021 Children and Youth Services Fund budget, revised expenditures of $811,466 for creation of 29 positions approved in the state's needs-based budget.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is a first reading of ordinance number 45. Mr. Smith, in title only, please.
A first reading of ordinance number 45, 2021, 17th, 2021 general fund budget, supplemental appropriation of $19,953 for creation of inmate services clerk position at the Erie County Prison.
Thank you. Mr. Smith, next on our agenda is resolution number 19. If you could read that in title only, please.
Resolution number 19, 2021, approving the financial statements and independent auditor's report for the County of Erie and related funds for calendar year ending December 31, 2020.
Thank you. Vice Chairwoman Clear.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I move to strike item F, Resolution 19, from the agenda after consultation with our CPA, Schwarzfager, and the Finance Department. They recommend to remove the item from the agenda and take no further action, as the appropriate time will be in September or October. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. We have a motion. And
Second.
we have a motion by Vice Chairwoman Clear, seconded by Councilwoman Rennie. Are there any comments or questions from members of council? Okay, I just want to make a further comment on this item, that this is the audit that was done ending December 31st of 2020. Last week, there was a presentation made by the auditors to council before the finance meeting of the preliminary report. It was my understanding at that time that that was the preliminary report and not the final report. And therefore, that is why Vice Chairwoman Clear has asked for this to be stricken from the agenda this evening, to be brought back up at an appropriate time when the auditors have finished and bring us a final audit for the time period ending December 31st, 2020. Just so the general public knows, that's why we are looking to strike this item tonight and waiting until the appropriate time in September to bring this back. And it would be the appropriate action to strike this and bring it back. And that was the motion that was made. With that said, Mr. Smith, may we have a roll call vote on the striking of resolution number 29 from the agenda tonight?
Mr. Rastetter,
Yes.
Mrs. Rennie,
Yes.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Mr. Shank,
Yes.
Mrs. Clear,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
No.
Chairman Anderson.
Yes. Thank you. Next on our agenda is resolution number 20 of 2021. Mr. Smith, I'm sorry, resolution number 20 of 2021. Mr. Smith, if you could read that in title only, please.
Mr.
Oh,
Chairman.
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. We had amended the agenda to include items G through H as one item. These are all exonerating outstanding taxes, fees, and interest. We're going to do this as one motion. Would it be council's pleasure to have Mr. Smith just read the addresses of each one of these parcels, or just that we're exonerating the taxes? I think we should read the addresses, but do it as one motion. Councilman Horton?
Yeah, I think it's G through N, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, G through N, correct. Mr. Smith, if you could just read the addresses of G through N, and the first time the title that we're exonerating taxes, fees, etc.
Yes, sir. Resolution 20 is exonerating taxes on 2947 Happy Valley Road, number 13 in Springfield. Resolution 21 exonerates outstanding taxes, fees, and interest on 23 Emery Drive. That's a trailer parcel in Washington Township. Resolution 22 exonerates outstanding taxes, fees, and interest on 10099 Meadville Street, lot 51. That's a trailer lot in Cranesville, PA. J is resolution number 23, exonerating outstanding county taxes, fees, and interest on 5 Highland Drive. That's a trailer lot in Union City, Pennsylvania. K is resolution 24, exonerating taxes, fees, and interest on 1 Diane Court, lot 114. That's a trailer parcel in McCain, Pennsylvania. And L, resolution number 25, exonerates taxes, interest, and outstanding fees on 18 Fawcett Court, lot 149. That's a trailer lot in McCain, Pennsylvania. Resolution 26 exonerates delinquent taxes and other costs on 307 Maple Street, a trailer lot in McCain, Pennsylvania. Resolution 27 exonerates taxes, fees, and interest on 27 Cherokee Drive, lot 109. That's also a trailer in McCain, Pennsylvania. That completes the resolutions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And now looking for a motion.
So moved. Second.
It was, well, I would recognize you, Mr. Horton, as you were there first to make the motion. So the motion made by Councilman Horton.
Second.
Seconded then by Councilman Schenk. Any other comments or questions from members of council? Seeing none, Mr. Smith, may we have a roll call vote, please?
On the motion, Mrs. Rennie,
Yes.
Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Mr. Shank,
Yes.
Mrs. Clear,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Rastetter,
Yes.
Chairman Anderson.
Yes. Thank you. Next on our agenda, we've already have a motion to put item O and P together. Mr. Smith, if you could just read each of those items, and we will make a motion to vote on those together.
Item O on the agenda is the sale of a parcel from the repository for 2525 German Street in Erie, Pennsylvania. Item P is the possible sale of a parcel from the repository for a located at 634 East 21st Street in the city of Erie.
So
May I
moved.
Second.
have a motion from Councilwoman Showerman, seconded by Councilwoman Clear, Vice Chairwoman Clear. Any other comments or discussion? Mr. Smith, may we have a roll call vote, please?
On the sale of parcels from the repository that are items O and P in our agenda, Mrs. Showerman,
Yes.
Mr. Shank,
Yes.
Mrs. Clear,
Yes.
Mr. Horton,
Yes.
Mr. Rastetter,
Yes.
Mrs. Rennie,
Yes.
Chairman Anderson.
Yes. Thank you. And before we adjourn the council meeting, I apologize. I should have done this under reports of council. But I do want to make a quick report to the members of council and point out to council that this morning I went to a press conference for the World War I Centennial Committee, who Erie County Council stepped forward. I believe it was 3 years ago in 2018 with a $10,000 grant to the World War I Centennial Committee, where they created 2 memorials at the Veterans Memorial Park at 26th and State for all those members of Erie County families who had a loved one that perished during the First World War. The committee continued on with the work that they had undertaken and then further received a grant from other organizations in the community, including the Erie County Gaming Revenue Authority. And actually this morning had a press conference because they published a book, and this is just a fantastic book about World War I and everything that Erie County was involved in World War I. This is called Answering the Call. Mary Jane Koenig was the chair of the committee, as well as former Veterans Affairs Director John Williams, Ann Silverthorne, and so many other members of the community who volunteered and came together Bill Welsh, a former member of the Times News, put the layout together and a lot of the writing. This is a fantastic addition to Erie's history and our heritage. The press conference was this morning at the Hagan History Center. And this copy that was given to me was actually presented to all of Erie County Council to be placed in the council office as a thank you for believing in the work that the committee was doing and stepping forward with the grant that we did at the time that we did, which really helped propel the success of this project. They are now having a book signing this evening at the Hagan History Center, which began at 5 p.m. Any members of council that wish to attend are certainly encouraged to do so. And the book itself will be in the council office for everyone to have a chance to see. If anybody would like to purchase a book, the hardcovers are $45 a piece. All the proceeds that will be raised from this book sale will go for the upkeep of the memorial at 26th and State. So I just wanted to point this out to council members, some new members who were not here when the grant was given, but other council members who were, but just a recognition of the work that Erie County Council does when we support projects in the community that are worthy and leave a lasting legacy to Erie County. So I leave this in the council office for everyone and congratulate Mary Jane Koenig and all of the members of the World War I Centennial Committee for the work that they've done on behalf of the citizens of Erie County. A job very, very well done. And when everyone sees this book, you'll see it's just an amazing history of that time period in our community. So thank you, council members, for allowing me to bring this up at the end of the meeting. But I felt it was certainly worthy to do so. And at the end of the meeting, I will go over to the Hagan History Center and let them know that I did present this to members of council. So thank you for that. Is there any other business to be brought before council this evening? Seeing none, our next Finance and Personnel Committee will occur on June 3rd at 4 p.m. Via Zoom conference. And the regular meeting will occur on June 8th, caucus beginning at 3:30. Thank you everyone for being here tonight from the general public and members of council. Thank you for the continued work that you do and certainly to members of the administration as well and to our staff. With that being said, I would ask for a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
And I will get the gavel out and meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Good night, Carl. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everybody.